Hello,
Hello, good evening.
good evening, friends. How are you? This is a new series, and we are going to do it in English. Here, we are not equal partners. Tib will be the prime mover, and I'll be just asking questions. Today's, right?
Yes, okay.
Today's topic is anxiety. What is anxiety, and why do we become anxious?
Yeah, I would rather say that the title should be a little more expanded. It should be called Antidote to Anxiety, because we need to find a solution for this particular situation today. Anxiety becomes a very rampant and common thing in today's world, especially given this pandemic. So, it's a key subject on which I think we can have a nice discussion and try to come up with, from our experience, how do we face anxiety? First of all, the question that you asked me is, what is anxiety? Anxiety is actually a result of a certain type of fear. This is actually a very useful tool which was given to us when we were hunter-gatherers. Because at that time, either you are the predator or you are the prey. So, you are given that keen awareness in yourself so that you could defend yourself and survive, and at the same time get the food you want. So this was a primary instrument or tool which was given to you as part of evolution in survival. But then what happens is, as we went along and then as human consciousness developed, we became more and more secure in life. But then the anxiety at the background always remains due to various other reasons.
Leaving alone the predator era, our parents, they don't seem to be, at least I didn't see my parents anxious for various things as
We are today. Yeah.
we are today.
Yeah, because if you go back about 15, 20 years, when we were much younger, and then you had your parents who had a big and large family, the anxiety level in parents was there, no doubt. It was not something that which we say is totally absent. They did have worries, they did have care, but what they did was they always had something to hold on to. Especially if you see in our lives, parents had a certain ritual, religious ritual like prayers and fasting. All these rituals are like, anchoring points in your life so that we learn to accept. The main thing that happens today is the question of not accepting something that comes to you. I'll tell you what is the main reason. You see, anxiety is actually a process which results from a cause and an effect. A cause which is always in the past, and an effect which is presently happening or it is to happen in the future. Now, this is the mode in which we are now living, because now man's mind has become very rational, and we started thinking that we as an individual through our mind can find solutions. As a result, what happens is, when there is a problem that is presented to us, and this could be due to a sequence of events that has taken place or causes that could have taken place from the past, and we think that how this is going to affect us in the future. So this projecting your image into a resultant position or state in future is what causes anxiety, because future is not known to us. We don't know what is the future. So as a result, what happens is you are always working or you are always operating in an unknown domain. And that is what causes
Anxiety.
yeah.
Apart from it, the close-knit joint family played a big role, I think, in sort of reducing the anxiety level
Yeah.
in people.
You are
Is
very
it
right.
true?
You are very right. You are very right. Because relationship, this is something which we will talk about it little more detail later on, especially for today's generation, youngsters. Relationship, when it is solidly rooted in the human beings and your ecosystem, like you had the fields, you had the plants, you had the trees, you had your brothers and sisters, you had your relationship. All these are around you, and you have a very solid background on which you can hold on to, and you can divert your mind to that particular area. But today what happens is we are completely lacking that. So this is the reason why we find that our parents never had that amount of stress as we are experiencing today.
Yeah.
And let me tell you also one more thing. In those days, when you were out in the wild as a tribe hunting, you had a very big domain on which to escape. You had trees, you had forests, you had mountains, you could go hide. But today what happens, especially take the situation in which we are working. You are in an office, your boss is shouting at you. And what happens immediately? You are in a cabin and you are locked up inside the cabin. You can't go out, you can't shout back because he's the boss, and you are worried about losing your job. So you are totally bracketed within this, prison, so that there is no escape. Now, when there is no escape, your mind goes into what we call as the feed forward mode, and it starts building up. More and more it starts building up, and then it puts a lot of stress on your system. And that is why today we have so much of problem. So, anxiety and stress are as a result of this particular closed domain in which we are operating today. So that is the
So
reason.
what sort of solution you think we can have
Yeah, let
to
us
reduce
now-
this level?
Yeah, let us now look at, I'll give you a small example. Two things. One is from a sort of analogy. If you're sailing in a sailboat in a very rough sea, and the wind picks up, what do you do first? You try to throw away all unnecessary things from the boat, because you lighten the boat. Because the heavier the boat, more likely it is to sink. Then next thing that you do is you unfurl your sail. You lower the sail so that it doesn't catch the wind, the strong wind. Now your mind is the sail. Now, if you don't lower your mind at this point of time when you are subject to anxiety and stress, you are really catching on too much wind. And you can get buffeted, you can get drowned, and you can lose your bearing. So this is exactly what happens in our life. It's like a sailboat. And I can give you from my own life an example of what happens and how did I... Yeah, we all face stress and anxiety. And especially when you are working in a very responsible position, like I had been for about 25 years to 30 years, stress is part of your life. Anxiety is part of your life. But how do you handle it? One example is 1996. You remember we had a function at home, very key function at home. And I was negotiating a very big contract, a $3 million contract. And we had done all the groundwork for almost over 1 year, both here and in Singapore, where the contractor was there, and in also the consultant who was in London. Having prepared everything, we were quite confident we are going to get the job. In January 1997, I get the news that we have lost the job. Practically it is gone to a German competition. Now you can imagine the state of my mind. But then you don't get worried, because if you get worried and anxious, your mind shuts down and you can't work further on how to plan, how to have a plan B, plan C, etc. So what I did was I quietly sat down and think, okay, suppose I lose $3 million, the annual income. How do I make it up? What are the jobs we can get? Or first level, how do I get this job back? So,
Is it possible?
Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Never say not possible. It is possible. So what we did was, in all the other, situations in which we are placed socially at home, I said, okay, we'll plan. And we went. After the function was over, we went to Singapore, got the whole thing reversed and got the order back. Now, if you had been agitated and if you are not if you had gone and shut down and gone into a depression, nothing would have happened. So you learn over a period of time in your life. This is something which we share with you, because over a period of time in your life, you start getting the experience of how to handle anxiety and stress. And this is the key thing. Yeah, never shut down your system and then become completely despondent and depressed, because then your mind completely is blank. And it is not only blank, it starts creating scenario within your mind of all negativities that can happen. And so you go more and more into depression, and then you become sick. This is what happens to many youngsters today, because they have nothing to hold on to. They live in a virtual world, and as a result, what happens is there is nothing tangible. So this is one of the main reasons why today we have this problem.
So what do? We do our best.
Yeah.
And then we go with the flow, I think.
Yes, going with the flow is the most important thing, that because when you're sailing in a boat, you don't say that, no, I don't want to go this way, I want to go another way. Unless you go with the flow, you don't reach your destination. But while going with the flow, how to navigate, within that flow, how to navigate is the most important thing. And that is what we must learn in life as we get older and older. And as we have today many tools, especially one of the key things that we need to look at today is, what is the anchoring points in life? The anchoring points in life cannot be material, cannot be wealth. The key anchoring points in life is relationships. Relationships to people, relationships to the ecosystem, and that is what's the critical thing. And then, very important, anchoring within yourself. Anchoring within yourself means spirituality. Remember, I talk so much about spirituality, and you sometimes say, why do you say so much about spirituality? Spirituality and religion are mixed up today. Religion is a method of attaining spiritual life. But what happens is, we completely forget about the spiritual dimension of religiosity. And we simply give importance to overall rituals and some practices. But that is not really going to help you to hold on. Unless those practices and rituals deepen you into your own system, you will not be able to come to a point where you can anchor your ship. That is what it's like. Today, I think this is a good
Anchoring the ship.
Yes, anchoring the ship.
Is the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice sharing. I think we should continue to do on various other subjects.
Yeah.
Have a great life and see you soon.
See you.